they are and how you started working with them.
Well, Richard and Chantay, that's D.B. Cooper's two children. Richard Floyd McCoy was D.B. Cooper, and he had two kids. Richard McCoy is his son, and Chantay McCoy, his daughter. So all during these years prior to the 50th anniversary, I had tried to contact their mother. I tried to contact the grandmother, and I tried to contact both of them relentlessly and called, texted, emailed, and never a flicker of anything. There was not anybody that would ever talk to me until just before the 50th anniversary. And at that point, the grandmother had just died, Myrtle had just died, and Richard McCoy's wife, Karen, she had just died. The two people most connected up with this case are now no longer in danger of going to prison for harboring objects or for hiding or for any of that kind of thing. I think there's a crime involved in assisting a hijacking, or there's a name for it, where you aid a hijacker or something like that, or you have information about what you did and don't provide it. That is a crime. And so once Karen and Myrtle were both deceased, then I got a phone call from Chantay and said, yes, we're aware of who you are, and yes, now we're willing to talk to you. So all that's only been in recent years. I had not ever talked to anybody prior to probably July of 21.
In your conversations with them, was there information that that they gave you that was new to you, or was it all confirming things you kind of already knew?
It was only confirming. They were too young when these hijackings occurred to actually remember very much of it. They had no firsthand knowledge, and their mother has always been mum about the subject. So they had no direct firsthand information that was a smoking gun by any stretch. But they said the same thing. So we've always known this has been a deep family secret. We've always known. We just couldn't talk about it, and now we can't.
Right, to protect the people who actually might be in trouble for it, who were still alive. So the FBI came, and did they, in the whole process, did they say to you, you can't talk about this at any point?
Not to me. The only limitation was that I could film or take pictures. So I did film and take pictures, and I got all that. That's been my only interaction with the FBI, was talking to them via phone, and then being at the location where we turned that gear over. I'm very proud of the fact that I did film and take pictures that day. But I haven't had any contact with them since that day, since the day that we turned it over.
Did you get the sense, I would assume that nobody who was working in 71, 72 is still there, and these are all new people. Did you get a sense that this set of FBI agents and people working on it were perhaps more open to what you were bringing to them and not having closed their ranks because they were the ones who investigated originally?
I did. The last conversation I had with this female FBI lead agent, I won't give her name here, but she specifically said, look, that was 50 years ago. That was then. This is now. Our agency is most interested for the purpose of appeasing the public, closing this once and for all. We're tired of the phone calls. If we can possibly close this and call it over, we don't have to ever answer our phone or take another email on this subject again. We are very interested in a conclusion to this. Yes, we're embarrassed. There's some things that happened that should not have happened, but she went into great detail to explain that we can't promise what's going to happen, but yes, the agency is a different agency today than what it used to be. We are most interested in restoring public confidence in the FBI.
And that had to be a good thing for you, having especially now dealt with former FBI agents and spending time in your docuseries talking about their lies and bungling and stuff. So I would imagine you felt better about handing over your evidence to the people who seem like they're not going to be bungling it in the same way.
Well, it's FBI, and I can tell you I trust them as far as I can throw them, which is not very far. They're government. They're corrupt. It's a government agency. It's KGB. The only difference between the KGB and the FBI is that the FBI claims that they're a legitimate government agency, and they're not. They're completely illegitimate. They're too much budget, too many people. Yes, at one point they had an actual function. Today's function of the FBI, don't get me started. FBI is still completely corrupt and completely inept in everything that they're doing. But in this particular case, I believe the lady. She was very nice to me, and she assured me that whatever we turned in, we would get back, and we went with that.
Oh, okay. It's interesting, to see your journey and talking about this Richard Floyd McCoy. By the end of it, it seems like you have a real soft spot for him as like the hand he was dealt, his journey. Obviously, he did these skyjackings and was a bank robber, but saying, well, he was murdered by the FBI without justification, and he had a really hard go. Do you talk about how you feel about him?
Well, that's an accurate portrayal, and that's very inept of you. That's very adaptive of you to pick up on that. I was growing up. I was not always the most popular, strongest athlete and prom king or anything like that. I was in the lower class, lesser, and oftentimes bullied. And I grew up attempting to stick up for the kids that were bullied, or the less fortunate kids, those that had received a bad bounce or been dealt a bad hand and were trying to deal with it the very best that I could. Those are the people that I empathized with and still empathize with to this day. In the case of McCoy, I think he was a great guy. I think he was dealt a very bad hand. He was not treated properly. He tried to do everything that he could. I fully empathized on Richard Floyd McCoy's position, everything that he had done for our country, gone to Vietnam, served 2 tours, been shot at, wounded, done everything that the U.S. government asked him to do. And he came back from Vietnam and he got spit on. There was no job. And America hated the Vietnam vet when he came back, and he realized there was no future, and he was mad. Yes, for sure. Yes, he had a grudge. And yes, I have a grudge.
And that sentiment, I think, that you're talking about of sticking it to the man, I would assume, even right at the beginning, was a big part of why people were so fascinated and obsessed with this, because we have yes, it was a crime, obviously, but there was nobody got hurt. Nobody, he didn't blow up the plane. He didn't, it was one of these, if you will, victimless crimes, but it's just obviously a crime. But then he was never found. There's interviews, people on the street at the time going like, yeah, it's good for him, and is that part of why it was such a big deal then and throughout until now?
Yeah, I think anytime you pull off the impossible, you get a little heroic stance from that. You did it, you pulled it off. Can't be done, so he did it anyway. And yeah, I can empathize with his position, and I'm pretty proud of what he pulled it off. I wish that I had been there. I wish that I had done it. Those days are long gone. But if I'd been in the same position, I can tell you, I would have been on board the boat back in 1700s, dumping the tea overboard. That would have been me. I fully empathize with his strong position on where he was. Nobody got hurt, and I think all of America reveled in his success in what he did, and the fact that he got away with it. He became a national hero, not because he committed a crime, but because he got away with it.
Yeah, and it spawned, both back then and until now, so much literature and filmmaking and CooperCon and all these things there's an entire economy based on who is DB Cooper. Talk about your experience going to CooperCon, for example, or dealing with all the other people in this world.
Well, I've only attended one CooperCon, and that was in the fall of 21, in anticipation. And I was there with Richard and Chantay, although nobody at CooperCon knew that they were there. They knew me, but they didn't know who my guests were, because they were completely unknown to the internet world, and no connection there. But yes, CooperCon, there's probably 30 other suspects out there, 30 books, 30 other stories, 30 other people trying to peddle their ways on who this person is. So all of it vaporizes into nothing. As soon as it's solved, there's no need for CooperCon, there's no need for the other books, and there's no need for the other suspects. As soon as you solve this, it all simply vaporizes. Therefore, the Cooper vortex is what I call it. All those people, they don't want it solved. They have to have this thing alive. That's how come they have fought so hard. They have taken specific efforts to decredit Richard Floyd McCoy as being DB Cooper, because they know that he was DB Cooper. And as soon as the world recognizes, it's pretty simple. Richard Floyd McCoy was DB Cooper. There's not really anything else to talk about.
Right. And the fun of going to an unsolved mystery convention gets removed, and people can't make money off of it with their theories. I loved your footage from CooperCon when you were interviewing each